Greetings, Guzzlers. Tonight we're going to kill some pasta. That's right, we're going to assassinate spaghetti. Because tonight we're going to make spaghetti alla Start again. Tonight we're going to make some spaghetti al assassina. Now you might be asking, why has he got his crown on his head, as it were? Why am I not drinking out of my crystal goblet? Well, I would do, but I'm a bit dubious about the contents of that. But it's because I am the pasta king. Discovered the pasta queen. The first episode of hers I watched, she made this dish. And there was at least 3 of my bloody lines she had stolen. So I'm sorry, pasta queen. I'm the pasta king. I'm going to follow your recipe, but your recipe is the official recipe if you want to make spaghetti alla oh my God, I can't. I've not had enough drink yet. Spaghetti of the assassin. And it's strictly controlled. You do get variants, but they're not the proper thing. But we're going to make spaghetti al assassina. And it involves using spaghetti. It involves tomato, chilli, lots of, garlic, oil and a bit of sugar. That is it. Now normally when you cook a pasta, you've got a pot of boiling water, which I've got here coming up to the boil. Don't put the salt in before it gets to the boil. That's what the pasta queen says. So I'll allow her that one. Okay, so I'm just bringing that up to a boil. But normally you would put your spaghetti in there, cook the spaghetti, make a sauce, drain the spaghetti, or pasta, and chuck the sauce on top. Not good spaghetti al assassina. In this, we cook the pasta in the sauce. Now you might say that's like, you can't do that, but you can do it if you're making this particular dish. So, let's get that boiling. Don't put the salt in yet. To cook this dish, you need, if you're going to follow the rules, a cast iron pan. Imagine this cast iron pan. Now, I haven't got a cast iron pan. Well, I've got a cast iron skillet, but that's no good because it's not a flat bottom. Need a flat bottom. Not a Brazilian bottom or any one of the other butt lift bottoms or whatever. Flat bottom. And it wants to be almost seasoned wok-like. And it is forbidden to wash it. In fact, in true tradition in Bari, not Barry Island, not Gavin Stacey, it's Italian. Bari, the tradition is you have this cast iron pan, and then when you finish with it, you wipe it clean with newspaper. You do not wash it. But the thing is, that pan must be big enough to fit your spaghetti into. Okay? And my skillet wasn't that big anyway. And I've got to take it out because we're not ready to cook it yet. My skillet wasn't that big anyway. And like I say, it was skillet, not a pan, which is so good. So, and the other thing is, and this is typical apparently of all pasta sauces, you need a wooden spoon. Pardon me. Right, that's time to come to the boil. So I'm going to give this a generous pinch of salt or 2. Okay, and then you're going to need some tomato puree, a whole tube of it. Because what we're going to start with is making a tomato broth. Bloody hell. That's a bit of a waste, isn't it? Because not all that's going to end up in there anyway. So this is coming up to the boil. So I'm now going to take the contents of that entire tube of tomato puree and I'm going to chuck it in there. And then we're going to give it a good mix with our wooden spoon. Ow! That was boiling. And then I'm going to transfer that onto the back burner because I want to do my pasta in the front. So as you can see, and this is how it needs to be, a nice bright red broth. Okay. Now, said to you, normally cook your pasta in your water. We're going to be using this tomato broth to partly help to cook the pasta, but we're not putting the pasta in there. Told you that already. Pasta going in there. But before we do that, we've got to put something else in there. So what I'm going to do now, that's mixed in, just going to turn that off for a second. I must turn that back burner on. That's a bit bloody fierce, isn't it? Turn that down to its lowest. And we're just going to put that onto there and let that simmer away. And then we're going to bring that into play, ready to start preparing. Now, like I said, so you've got your tomato broth. All you're going to need now is garlic, chilies, passata and some olive oil. Oh, and also dried spaghetti. Now this needs to be dried spaghetti, not fresh spaghetti. Because remember, we're going to cook it in the pan. By the way, it's also known as spaghetti bruschetta or something like that. Italian, I can't pronounce it properly. But basically it means burnt spaghetti. So there's a clue what's coming. And you can't do it if it's fresh spaghetti. Just make that noise. There must be that in the back there. So, you're going to want a ladle to go with that. You're going to want your wooden spoon for that. And then you're going to need a knife. So, let's start preparing the pan for the spaghetti. You want about 3 decent sized cloves of garlic. I've got 4, mainly because, well, it seems a waste just to waste one. And that one I think might be enough anyway. Okay, and you want to peel your garlic. And now, one of the arguments, or one of the theories behind why it's called assassin spaghetti is because it's made so fucking hot with chilies. It's like, okay, now you're trying to fucking kill me. Except you weren't done in a northern accent, it was done with an Italian accent. But actually, apparently, in reality, oh, and the other thing is, apparently, what you should do is remove the green bit, green centre, and that's a particularly green one, of your garlic. I've never heard this before. But you remove the green bit down the middle of your garlic, because apparently that can make it bitter. I mean, that one was particularly green, but I think that was because it was just an old garlic. That one don't seem to have anything in it at all. So, given that's what they say do, I'm going to do it. So, like I say, that was one theory as to why it's called that. It's literally because it's so fucking hot. But in reality, they reckon that, to be honest, most people say, well, actually, I don't like this spaghetti too fucking hot. So, okay, I want a bit of spice to it, but go a bit easier. So you're not likely to find huge amounts of chilli in it. In fact, you might, I don't know. But anyway, but it does have to have a kick to it. So, put my hand over it in my board. So I live. So we don't want it burnt. Well, we do want it burning like the fires of hell. Caster Queen stole that line from me. That was, she used that line in her episode, which is available on Amazon Prime. I don't think it's available anywhere. I think she's got a YouTube channel, and I can't remember if she's got it on there. I think it might have been the YouTube channel she said that. That's my line, darling. I use that. But what we want to do with our garlic is finely mince it up, and we're going to cook our garlic in some oil in a bit. But what we don't want to do is burn the garlic. Do not burn the garlic. Golden rule, do not burn the garlic. Now actually this is quite a recent dish, so we talk about, you know, where it might come from, but it really dates from about the 60s. And like I say, there's a theory that is it just simply to do with the fact that it's so whatnot. You think they're trying to kill me, but the general consensus is actually because the way you cook it, it's not about trying to kill the person who's eating it. It's more about you're killing the spaghetti because of the way you cook a bastard. So I'll just lightly mince that. So just going to get a bit of room here, move my pan over, and we'll start cooking the garlic. We'll start making the sauce, which we will supplement with our broth. Oops, excuse me. That was the beer I had earlier. I'm on wine now, as you might have guessed. But we're going to make the sauce. So I've got my pan heating up now. In fact, that's nice and warm. And I'm going to add about 150 mils ish of oil. And I'm going to heat that up. And while that's heating up, I'm going to take some. I've got 3 red chillies. Now, if you're not keen on the spice, you can cut it back, but it's meant to move off and on. Okay. Now, there is an official recipe, okay, which is what we're following. And you want to put the seeds in. I mean, if you're a bit of a nonce and you don't want the bloody seeds in it, don't put the seeds in it. If you don't want some chili, don't put some chili in it. Okay. But because these are quite big chilies, I'm slicing them in half as well. What we're going to do in a minute is I'm now just going to, now that it's getting hot, we're now just going to scrape. Woo! That in there. We want to get all of those chilies and that garlic in there. And like I say, we do not want to burn it. We don't want to burn the garlic anyway. So we're just going to give it a few minutes to cook. I'm just going to turn that down a little bit for now. Okay. We are going to want a lot of heat when we come to specking a lot. Don't come speck at me, you little bastard. So now that garlic is already starting to brown a little bit, which is fine. We want a bit of colour. We don't want to burn it though. And then you're going to want your passata in a minute. Pardon me, yeah, that's the beer talking from earlier. And what we will do, which I might turn that back up again a bit, I might have turned it a bit too low. When that starts getting quite fragrant, and it's starting to brown, but don't burn it. Do not burn your garlic. What we're going to add is about 150 mils of passata, which is less than a quarter of that lot. Which doesn't seem as much as what she put in, but oh anyway. Now, there is an official, well actually there's 2, official academies dedicated to making sure that this spaghetti dish is made exactly to the rules. If you want to, and they fight for it. In fact, it's the most Instagrammed and Googled version of spaghetti dishes anywhere. But it was decided to make sure if you're going to make it, it has to be made strictly to the right rules. Cast iron pan, don't wash it out, clean it with a little saucepan. Use a wooden spoon and spatula. Follow the recipe properly, as you will see. And these academies, the first one, one of the first that set up was like men only. Yeah, because only men know what they're doing. And the women went, oh, we're not having that. So they set up their rival one. And nowadays, apparently, they do sort of about get together and whatever. Not together for that sort of reason, but because to discuss the spaghetti. And they have tastings and that. There is another academy in Bari that's dedicated to making sure this pasta dish is made strictly according to the rules, and they will vet restaurants. A lot of restaurants fight to get this on their menu. They can only have it, and they can only say, I'm officially a spaghetti alla assassina restaurant if the academy says one, well, whatever they say in Italian. I was going to say we, but I know that's French. And it is a bit of a status symbol. If they don't think, and apparently there's like hundreds of restaurants every year go, oh, I want to be on the list, and they go, no. Except they say in Italian, not French. They don't use the proper equipment, they don't do it properly. There are some restaurants who go, I don't really care about that, and I would use a variation. But one thing is, with this dish, officially, it's not a pasta dish, you put cheese on. You know, normally you have to put parmesan. I'm not saying you don't put parmesan or whatever on any other pasta dish. You do not put it on the spaghetti. Well, better not. Right, that's starting to brown. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add some of that passata. And I probably added a bit too much. But what we're trying to do is take the edge off of that burning. And to be honest, I can't see how 150 mils in any way, shape or form matches what she did. So I'm going to put a bit more in. That'll do me. And now we're just going to bring that up to temperature. And then I might tell you some other versions of why it's called spaghetti alla assassina. Now the old sauce is starting to boil, so what we're going to do, just take the acidity off of the spaghetti a little bit, of the tomato a little bit. We're just going to add a little bit of salt. Salt? Bloody hell, I can't bloody speak properly. A bit of sugar. Okay. And I'm just going to mix that in. Now, although it's got tomato in it, which I don't like, well, I don't like big bits of tomato. This is just tomato passata, tomato broth, so I'm happy with that. Now, what we want to do now, I'm just going to put that in a minute, is we take our spaghetti, don't you dare go on the bloody floor, Mum it just has. This is where we take our raw spaghetti, oh my God, we're cooking raw spaghetti, and we're just going to lay this into the pan. Okay, and we just want to sort of try and muddle it down, if you like, into that sauce. And we're going to cook this now, because my spaghetti isn't quite being covered. This is where I'm going to take a ladle of my tomato broth, and I'm just going to add just a little bit so it's partly covering it. Now, this is where I'm also going to get rid of my spoon, because I'm going to need a spatula next. Now we're going to now start cooking that pasta in there. Now this is another version of where the name comes from, because we're killing our pasta. We're not cooking our pasta correctly. And in a minute, we're going to make that bastard burn. So you're going to need a wooden spatula. The steel goblet's trying to fall over. You're going to need a wooden spatula, because we're cooking the pasta a bit like a risotto. We're going to keep adding some broth. Look, spat me there, you bastard. We're going to keep adding some broth, but we also want it to start catching. Now, in a cast iron pan, it does it a lot better. This is my hex-clad non-stick pan, so it might not work quite so well, but we don't mind a bit of burning. Right, can you hear that? Can you hear that? So it's starting to sizzle a bit. So at this point, I'm going to take some more of that boiling broth, and I'm just going to add another little ladleful over the top. I've got quite a small ladle compared to what El Pasta Queen used, so I'm just going to add a little bit more. We do not want to drench the bloody stuff, okay? And also, at this stage, we do not want to start stirring it. Okay, I'm just trying to... Now, because of the way we're cooking it, this is going to be more al dente. So we talk about making pasta al dente. This wants to be a little bit more al dente. Okay, i.e. a little bit more crunchy, sort of. So hopefully if we can get the burn, there'll be the crunchy bits. And the non-burn bits will just be more very al dente. But that is the way this dish is cooked. Now, I told you, one theory is the level of spice makes it so we're not people go, oh, me, you're trying to kill me, you're trying to assassinate me. And the other is that, well, because you're putting it in a pan like this and basically like not cooking it properly and burning it, you're killing the spaghetti. But the other way, which the Pasta Queen story mentions, actually she talks to the guy who's the ambassador of one of these academies and says the story is a cook was getting ready to make his pasta, like he would do with his spaghetti, put it in the boiling water, make a tomato sauce. He's got tomato sauce on the go, and he's about to put his spaghetti in his water, and passing by is a beautiful woman. And he's like, "Oops, man." And he drops his spaghetti, but instead of putting it in the water, he puts it in the sauce. But he's still so distracted by this beautiful lady. By the time he realises, oh fuck, I put it in the sauce. And it's starting to burn. Except he did it in Italian, not in a North accent. Now, what we now need to do is take a wooden spatula and you start trying to see, can you lift it? And if you can, you're just going to try and turn it over. Now, that's Spanish. Now, I don't know if you can see from there, but we are starting to get some charring. Just going to turn that heat down a little bit. Okay, we're starting to get some charring. So I've turned it over, and I'm just going to spread that a little bit. And then at this point, you take some more of our broth. Remember, it's a bit like a risotto. We're letting the pasta gradually absorb the liquid. And now, again, we leave it. Don't stir it. Don't stir it. We now want to get burned a bit more. Stir. So, like I say, whether they really make it that hot that you can think, it's a bit dubious because in most places you won't get that on. But there are strict rules. I'm just going to turn that down one back, off at the back. You're going to end up with a lot of that broth you're going to throw away. Bit of a waste, isn't it? But you do want, like I've got in there, your charring. Adds to the flavour. Okay, but really, that's all there is to tell you. Like I say, 1960s onwards. Various variations on it, but if you want to do it properly, you've got to follow the Academy rule. Cast iron pan, wooden spatula, wooden spoon, burn it, so on. So, I'm just going to let this reduce down a little bit. Now what you do is as it reduces down, as it absorbs that. Now we do not want our pasta being soggy. And don't keep stirring it, because we want it to get a bit of charring on it. And we are not putting cheese on top. Some restaurants do. Very naughty. Okay, so let's just cook it a little bit longer. Now, I've turned it a couple of times. I've added some more broth. One thing to note is that when you get your spatula, and it's probably more likely in the cast iron pan, granted, is that if you get some resistance, I found in the middle there, when you're trying to move the pasta, then you know it's working. Now what I'm having to do here, because I'm on that little burner in the middle, I'm just having to sort of spread things about. And we haven't quite got enough charring yet. It's getting there, if you notice, darkening in places. But I'm not sure I'm going to add any more broth at this stage. I'm just going to let it carry on cooking. It does seem quite soft-ish. So we're just going to let that carry on, get a bit more charring, and then we'll be ready to serve it up. Probably fucking not. You're trying to kill me. So let's start serving up. I'm just going to turn that heat off a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and get some of that pasta, although it is a bit clumped together at the minute. Let's just have a little swirl of pasta on there. Do another little one. Remember, I'm making this for 2, so I want to make sure I leave some behind. Now, there's not as much charring on this as perhaps might like, but there we go. Let's give it a little taster. So, just take a little bit of that pasta. It's tomatoey. Very chewy, which is what it's meant to be. The heat doesn't come through immediately, but it's starting to come through now. Try a little bit more. In fact, I'm a little bit disappointed in it. I thought it'd be a lot more fiery than that, but there you go. That is your spaghetti all'assassina, assassinated spaghetti. Although I probably could have assassinated it a bit more. Better give some to the wife now. Semi pasta queen. Remember, I'm the pasta king.